The silence in the opulent boardroom was thick enough to choke on, punctuated only by the rhythmic tap of Amelia Hayes' manicured nails against the polished mahogany table. 15 years. 15 years I had poured my blood, sweat, and late nights into building this company's success, personally nurturing the relationships with our 10 most lucrative clients. And now, this stranger, barely a year into her directorship, was dismantling my life with the cold pronouncements of a corporate executioner. "Your package is outdated, Mr. Thorne," she declared, her voice devoid of warmth. "We're cutting your base pay by 40% and completely restructuring your commissions." A tremor ran through me, but it wasn't fear. It was the chilling premonition of a storm I knew I couldn't weather alone. She panicked when I simply smiled. My journey with Omnitech had begun in a cramped, shared office space, fueled by lukewarm coffee and an unwavering belief in the revolutionary software we were developing. I was employee number 5, a fresh-faced sales executive brimming with ambition and a relentless drive to connect with people. Over the years, as Omnitech blossomed from a fledgling startup into a market leader, I grew alongside it. I wasn't just selling software, I was building partnerships, forging trust, and becoming an indispensable linchpin in the company's revenue stream. My dedication wasn't just about hitting targets, it was personal. I remembered the early days, the lean months when paychecks were delayed, and the sheer grit it took to land our first major client. I had cultivated those initial relationships, nurturing them with unwavering attention, turning skeptical leads into loyal advocates. My top 10 accounts weren't just entries on a spreadsheet. They were individuals I knew intimately, their families, their business challenges, their aspirations. I had celebrated their successes and offered support during their setbacks. They trusted me, and by extension, they trusted Omnitech. My compensation reflected this value. It wasn't just a reward for past performance, it was an acknowledgement of the ongoing, critical role I played. My base salary provided stability, while the commission structure incentivized the continued growth and retention of these key accounts. It was a fair system, one that had been in place and consistently delivered results for years. Then came the acquisition. Global Tech, a behemoth in the industry, swallowed Omnitech whole. There were promises of synergy, of greater resources, of a brighter future. But the air soon grew heavy with uncertainty. Familiar faces disappeared, replaced by new executives with sharp suits and even sharper agendas. Amelia Hayes was one of them, appointed as the new director of sales. She was young, ambitious, and possessed an unsettlingly detached efficiency. From our initial interactions, a subtle tension had simmered beneath the surface. I sensed a lack of appreciation for the history, the relationships, the very foundation upon which Omnitech's success had been built. Rumors of restructuring began to circulate, whispers in the hallways about streamlining and modernizing compensation packages. I tried to remain optimistic, reminding myself of my long tenure and the undeniable value I brought to the table. But a knot of unease tightened in my stomach with each passing day. The meeting with Amelia was brief and brutal. Her eyes, cold and assessing, scanned a document on her desk as she delivered the news. There was no preamble, no acknowledgement of my years of service, no hint of understanding the impact this would have. It was purely transactional, a calculated move to cut costs, seemingly without regard for the human cost. Her rationale, delivered in a clipped, business school tone, was that my package was no longer aligned with industry standards, and that the new structure would incentivize broader team performance. The irony was lost on her. My package was a direct result of my individual performance, my dedication to those top-tier clients who contributed significantly to the company's bottom line. And broader team performance felt like a thinly veiled attempt to dilute my earnings and redistribute them amongst a less experienced team that hadn't cultivated those crucial relationships. As she outlined the drastic cuts, a 40% reduction in my base salary and a convoluted new commission structure that would significantly diminish my earnings even if I maintained my current performance, a wave of disbelief washed over me, quickly followed by a surge of anger. But I suppressed it, forcing a calm facade. This wasn't the time for an emotional outburst. This was the time for strategy. That's when I smiled. It wasn't a genuine smile of amusement, but a slow, deliberate curve of my lips that seemed to unsettle her. Her perfectly composed expression flickered for a fraction of a second, a hint of confusion in her eyes. She hadn't expected that. She had likely anticipated resistance, perhaps even anger or pleading. My unexpected reaction threw her off balance, and in that moment, I knew I had a sliver of an advantage. My smile wasn't born of resignation, but of a sudden, sharp clarity. Amelia Hayes might control my paycheck, but she didn't control the relationships I had painstakingly built over 15 years. She didn't understand the depth of the trust one had cultivated with those top 10 clients. She saw them as accounts, line items on a spreadsheet. I saw them as people, as partners. Over the next few weeks, while outwardly appearing to cooperate with the new compensation structure, I began to subtly engage my key clients. These weren't formal business meetings, they were casual lunches, after-hours calls, and brief check-ins framed as maintaining our long-standing rapport. I didn't badmouth Global Tech or Amelia directly. Instead, I focused on the changing landscape, the new faces, and the inevitable shifts in priorities that often accompany acquisitions. I spoke of my personal commitment to ensuring their continued success, emphasizing the deep understanding I had of their unique needs and challenges, knowledge that went beyond any standardized CRM system. I reminded them of the years of seamless service and the personalized attention they had come to expect. These conversations weren't about soliciting immediate action, they were about planting seeds of doubt and reinforcing the value of our direct relationship. Meanwhile, within Global Tech, the impact of Amelia's cost-cutting measures began to ripple through the sales team. Morale plummeted as experienced salespeople felt undervalued and demotivated by the new commission structure. The initial enthusiasm surrounding the acquisition began to wane, replaced by a growing sense of unease. Amelia, focused on her spreadsheets and her metrics, seemed oblivious to the undercurrent of discontent. She implemented new reporting systems, demanded stricter adherence to standardized processes, and held frequent meetings emphasizing efficiency and synergy. But she failed to grasp the intangible, the human element that had been the cornerstone of Omnitech's success. The first crack in her carefully constructed facade appeared during a quarterly business review with Titan Industries, our largest and most prestigious client. For years, these reviews had been smooth, almost celebratory affairs, a testament to the strong partnership we had built. But this time, Mr. Henderson, Titan's CEO, seemed distant, his usual jovial demeanor replaced by a guarded reserve. During a break, he pulled me aside. "David," he said, his voice low, "I have to be frank. We've been approached by several competitors lately, all promising similar solutions. Your personal touch, your understanding of our specific needs, that's always been a key differentiator for us. But lately," he trailed off, his gaze troubled. That was my opening. Gently, carefully, I reiterated my unwavering commitment to their partnership, emphasizing the depth of my understanding of their business. I didn't criticize global tech, but I subtly highlighted the potential for disruptions during periods of significant organizational change. I reassured him that I would personally ensure their needs continued to be met with the same level of dedication he had come to expect. Over the following weeks, similar conversations unfolded with other key clients. They voiced concerns about the increasing bureaucracy, the less personalized attention, and the feeling that their long-standing loyalty was no longer being valued. They missed the direct line of communication they had always had with me, the assurance that their concerns would be heard and addressed promptly. Amelia, meanwhile, remained focused on her internal metrics, seemingly unaware of the growing dissatisfaction among our most important clients. Her reports showed increased sales activity across the broader team, a metric she proudly presented to the senior leadership. She attributed this to the effectiveness of her new compensation structure, failing to recognize that these smaller gains were being overshadowed by the increasing fragility of our key accounts. The tension escalated when I received an email from Mr. Chen, the CEO of Global Solutions, another one of our top 10 clients. He requested an urgent meeting. His tone was formal, almost cold. When we met, he didn't mince words. He had received a compelling proposal from a competitor, one that promised not only a similar technological solution but also a dedicated account manager with a proven track record of understanding their specific industry. He expressed his disappointment with the recent changes at Global Tech and the lack of personalized attention he had experienced. This was the turning point. Mr. Chen's potential departure wasn't just about lost revenue, it was a signal, a canary in the coal mine. If we lost Global Solutions, the other key accounts would likely follow. The foundation I had built so carefully was beginning to crumble. I knew I had to act decisively. I compiled a detailed report outlining the growing concerns of our top 10 clients, including specific instances of dissatisfaction and the competitive threats we were facing. I highlighted the long-standing relationships I had cultivated and the potential financial catastrophe that losing these accounts would represent. I requested a meeting with Mr. Sterling, the CEO of Global Tech. I knew it was a long shot. Amelia had likely painted a picture of a smooth transition and improved efficiency. But I had to try. The meeting was tense. Amelia was present, her expression a mixture of annoyance and thinly veiled contempt. Mr. Sterling, a man who valued numbers above all else, listened with a detached air as I presented my findings. Amelia countered my points with data on overall sales activity and argued that the concerns I raised were isolated incidents, the resistance of an individual unwilling to adapt to change. But I had anticipated her tactics. I had come prepared with testimonials from Mr. Henderson and Mr. Chen, expressing their direct concerns about the shift in account management and their consideration of alternative providers. The cold, hard evidence of potential revenue loss finally cut through Mr. Sterling's detachment. He turned to Amelia, his brow furrowed. "Ms. Hayes," he said, his voice losing its usual affability, "explain this." Amelia stammered, attempting to downplay the significance of these concerns, attributing them to resistance to progress. But the testimonials spoke for themselves. Mr. Sterling, a man who understood the language of dollars and cents, finally grasped the gravity of the situation. The climax arrived not in a single dramatic confrontation, but in a series of escalating events that exposed the fragility of Amelia's strategy. Following my meeting with Mr. Sterling, he launched an internal investigation, discreetly contacting the top 10 clients to gauge their level of satisfaction. The feedback was damning. They echoed the concerns I had raised, emphasizing the diminished personal attention and the lack of understanding of their specific needs. The news sent shockwaves through Global Tech's senior leadership. Mr. Sterling, his face grim, summoned Amelia and me to another meeting. This time, the atmosphere was starkly different. The air crackled with tension, and Amelia's usual confidence was visibly shaken. Mr. Sterling laid out the findings of the investigation, his voice sharp and accusatory. He presented projections of potential revenue loss if the top 10 clients were to defect, figures that dwarfed any savings achieved through Amelia's compensation cuts. Ms. Hayes, he stated, his gaze unwavering, your strategy has jeopardized our most valuable assets. You prioritized short-term cost savings over long-term client relationships, the very foundation of Omnitech's success. Amelia attempted to defend her actions, citing industry benchmarks and the need for standardized processes. But her arguments rang hollow in the face of the stark reality presented by the client feedback. Then came the twist. Mr. Sterling turned to me. Mr. Thorne, he said, his tone now more measured, it's clear that your relationships with these clients are invaluable. We need to ensure their continued loyalty. What do you propose? This was my moment. I had anticipated this question, and I had a plan. Mr. Sterling, I began, my voice calm and steady, these clients trust me. They have for 15 years. To regain their complete confidence, we need to demonstrate a renewed commitment to personalized service and a deep understanding of their individual needs. I propose the creation of a dedicated, key accounts division, a specialized team focused solely on nurturing and growing the relationships with our top 10 clients. This division would operate with a more flexible structure, empowering account managers to tailor solutions and provide the personalized attention these clients had come to expect. And, crucially, I propose that I lead this division, with a compensation package that reflected the critical importance of these accounts. Amelia's face paled. This wasn't just a reversal of her policies, it was a direct challenge to her authority. She vehemently opposed the idea, arguing that it would create a two-tiered sales structure and undermine team cohesion. But Mr. Sterling, now acutely aware of the potential financial fallout, sided with me. Ms. Hayes, he said firmly, your focus on standardization has clearly backfired with our most important clients. Mr. Thorne's proposal addresses their specific concerns and leverages the relationships he has painstakingly built. We will proceed with his plan. The decision hung heavy in the air. Amelia's carefully constructed authority had crumbled. The short-sighted pursuit of cost savings had nearly cost Global Tech its most valuable assets. My smile in that initial meeting hadn't been resignation, it had been the quiet confidence of knowing the true value lay not in spreadsheets and standardized metrics, but in the enduring power of human connection. The immediate aftermath of Mr. Sterling's decision was palpable. Amelia Hayes, her authority significantly diminished, was sidelined, her day-to-day involvement with the sales team curtailed. While she retained her title, her influence had waned considerably. The key accounts division was established, and I stepped into the role of its leader. The first order of business was to personally reach out to each of the top 10 clients. These weren't just perfunctory calls, they were heartfelt conversations acknowledging their concerns and reaffirming our commitment to their partnership. I outlined the structure of the new division, emphasizing the dedicated support they would receive and the renewed focus on understanding their individual needs. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Mr. Henderson at Titan Industries expressed his relief, stating that my direct involvement provided the reassurance they needed. Mr. Chen at Global Solutions, who had been on the verge of signing with a competitor, agreed to postpone his decision, expressing his willingness to see how the new division would operate. Over the following months, the key accounts division flourished. We implemented tailored strategies for each client, focusing on proactive communication, personalized solutions, and a deep understanding of their evolving business challenges. The trust that had been eroded began to rebuild. The financial results spoke for themselves. Retention rates for the top 10 clients remained at 100%. Furthermore, under the renewed focus and personalized attention, several of these accounts expanded their contracts, leading to significant revenue growth. The success of the key accounts division served as a stark contrast to the performance of the broader sales team, which continued to grapple with low morale and a confusing commission structure. The initial gains Amelia had touted began to plateau, and the attrition rate among experienced salespeople increased. Mr. Sterling, witnessing the tangible results of a relationship-driven approach, quietly began to dismantle some of Amelia's more rigid policies. There was a gradual shift back towards recognizing the value of individual expertise and long-term client relationships. Amelia Hayes eventually left Globaltech. Her tenure served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing short-term financial gains over the intangible but crucial value of human connections and established trust. As for me, I found a renewed sense of purpose in leading the key accounts division. It was a validation of the years of dedication and the personal investment I had made in those client relationships. My compensation package was not only reinstated but enhanced, reflecting the critical role I played in safeguarding the company's most valuable assets. Years later, the key accounts division remains a cornerstone of Globaltech's success. The principles of personalized service and deep client understanding, once almost discarded, are now ingrained in the company's culture. I often think back to that tense boardroom meeting and the unexpected power of a simple smile. It wasn't a gesture of defiance, but a quiet acknowledgement of a truth Amelia Hayes had failed to grasp. In the complex tapestry of business, the threads of human connection are often the strongest and most enduring. While numbers tell a story, it is the relationships we build that ultimately determine the narrative of success. And sometimes, the greatest power lies not in grand pronouncements, but in the quiet strength of understanding and the unwavering commitment to the people who place their trust in you. Everyone needs to sacrifice, but true sacrifice involves understanding what is truly valuable and protecting it, even when faced with the cold logic of a balance sheet. The end.